Hi everyone, welcome to yet another session on Malayalam literature in English translation. In the previous video, we discussed one of the stories by Tagari Shivashankara Pillai, and the story was titled In the Flood. We read it live. We understood that the story is about a dog who remains loyal to the very end of his life. And also, we come across his master, even though the story explicitly portrays the loyalty of the dog, the story also implicitly makes us understand how disloyal the master is. He could have taken his dog along with him, but unfortunately he doesn't. In this live session, we will discuss yet another short story, and that is the short story The World Renowned Nose. As usual, we will have a short discussion with respect to the author. Let's have a sneak peek into the biography and literary details regarding the author. The World Renowned Nose is written by Vaikom Muhammad Basheer. He was born at Taleolaparambu in Kottayam district. Fondly known as Beypore Sultan after he wrote about his later day life in Beypore as a sultan, Bashir was an independence activist and a writer of Malayalam literature. He took part in the Salt Satyagraha after being influenced by the national movement, which led to his arrest and torture by the police. He even started a magazine titled Ujjivanam as the mouthpiece of the rebel organization that he was part of. He was a writer, humanist, freedom fighter, novelist, and short story writer. Look at the many realms at which he was popular. He was noted for his path breaking, down to earth style of writing that made him equally popular among literary critics as well as the common man. Like his well known contemporaries of the late 1930s and early 1940s, like S.K. Pottakad, Tagari Shivashankara Pillai, Pongunnam Varki, and Keshavadev, Bashir wrote spoken Malayalam as against the Sanskritized bookish language used till then. So that is a difference that you note when you come to the writings of Bashir. His use of common colloquial speech endeared him to the reader. His style of narrative, of detailing daily events and incidents with a running thread of humor, was another factor that made his stories very attractive. The earliest of Bashir's literary efforts was a short story titled Prema Lekhanam, which he wrote in 1942 in prison at Trivandrum. As I said earlier, he was an independence activist and he took part even in the Salt Satyagraha, being influenced by the nationalist movement, and he had to confront torture by the police. He was also prisoned. So Premalaganam was written in 1942 in the prison at Trivandrum. With the publication of Balyakalasagi in 1944, Bashir secured an unchallenged place in the literary world. It is a simple tale of two next-door neighbors. The story Balyakalasagi is about two next-door neighbors. They are named Majid and Sohra, who grow up together deeply attached to each other and then find themselves estranged due to social circumstances. This is the gist of his famous story, Balyakalasagi, which came out in 1944. His other notable works include ശബ്ദങ്ങൾ, പാത്തുമ്മയുടെ ആട്, മതിലുകൾ, എൻ്റെ ഉപ്പുപ്പാക്കുണ്ടായിരുന്ന ഒരാന ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു, മാന്ത്രിക പൂച്ച, ജന്മദിനം and അനർഘ നിമിഷം. The government of India awarded him the fourth highest civilian honor of the Padma Shri in 1982. He was also a recipient of the Sahitya Academy Fellowship, Kerala Sahitya Academy Fellowship, Vallathol Award, and the Kerala State Film Award for Best Story. Vaikom Muhammad Basheer died on July 5, 1994 at the age of 84. So that is all regarding the author. Now let's start reading the short story, The World Renowned Nose. Now the very title evokes our curiosity. The world renowned nose. Now, what kind of a nose it must be? And why did it become famous? Now, these are the questions to which we ought to find the answer by reading the short story. Let's start reading the story. It is sensational news. So, as I said earlier, the title evokes our curiosity, and so does the very first sentence of the short story. It is a sensational news. So, what is this sensational news? Sensational means something that causes or evokes our interest or attention. A nose has become a topic of controversy among intellectuals and political thinkers. So, this is the sensational news. A nose which has become a topic of controversy among intellectuals and political thinkers. A world renowned nose. A world famous nose. I record here the true story of that nose. So the speaker says, the narrator says, he records in this particular story the actual true story of that nose. The owner of that world renowned nose had completed 24 years of age when the story began. So as of now, we don't know the name of this particular character. All we know is that this character has a world renowned nose and he has completed 24 years of age. No one knew him before that. Does the 24th year in a person's life have any special significance? Who knows? If one looks through the recorded pages of world history, one finds that the 24th year had a significance in many great lives. Students of history need hardly be told this. So it could mean that 24 is not just a number. It is a special number, especially with regard to all the important personalities whose life changed, met with a turn of events at the age of 24. The hero of our story was a cook, a kitchen worker if you like. So he is 24 years old and he works as a cook, a kitchen worker. He was not particularly intelligent. He could not read and write. So we get the present status of this character. He was not really intelligent. He could not even read and write. His world was confined to the kitchen. So the kitchen was his world where he spent most of his time. He was totally indifferent to happenings outside it. Indifferent means marked by a lack of interest. So the kitchen was his world and he was not interested in any of the other events that happen outside this particular world, which is the kitchen. Why should he pay attention to them? He could eat to his satisfaction, take as much snuff as he wanted, sleep, work. So this was his routine and he did not want to do anything other than his daily schedule. He used to eat to his satisfaction. He used to take as much snuff. Now, snuff means finely powdered tobacco for sniffing up the nose. You might have seen your elders taking it up the nose. So he used to take as much snuff as he wanted. He used to sleep and he used to work. These are the things that he did in his daily life, in his routine life. His daily routine was confined to these activities. He did not know the names of the months of the year. When it was time for him to receive his salary, his mother would come and collect it. Sorry for the slight delay there. He lived a contented life till he reached his 24th year. Then an amazing thing happened. So he lived this daily routine, he lived this regular kind of life till he was 24 years old, and then something amazing happened. His nose grew slightly in length. It passed his mouth and reached the level of his chin. So, this is what happened when he became 24 years old. His nose grew slightly in length, it passed his mouth and reached the level of his chin. The nose began to grow in length every day. Was it possible to hide this? Within a month, the nose reached his navel. So, so the nose grew so big that it reached his navel. Navel is the scar on your stomach where the umbilical cord was attached. Did he feel uncomfortable? Not in the least. He could breathe freely. So one would expect him to have some sort of um, health issues, some sort of breathing difficulties because of this extended nose. But he had no problems. He could breathe freely. There was no inconvenience worth talking about. However, because of his nose, the poor cook was dismissed from his work. So the only problem that he had to confront because of this extraordinary situation was that he was fired from his job. He was dismissed from his work. What was the reason? No group came forward with the battle cry. So there was nobody to support this person. He was thrown out without a reason, and nobody came to inquire about this event of throwing him away from his job. Take back the dismissed employee. Political parties shut their eyes to this piece of blatant justice. Blatant means something which happens without any concealing or hiding. This was clearly an injustice, which was quite visible to everyone, but nobody cared. Not even the political parties. They lent a blind eye, they shut their eyes to this piece of blatant injustice. Why was this man dismissed? No lover of humanity came forward with this query. So nobody concerned themselves with this question, why was this man thrown away from his job? Nobody came in support of this man. The poor cook. No one needed to tell him why he had lost his job. The reason was that the people living in the house where he worked could find no peace or quiet because of him. People came visiting night and day to see the long nosed one. So, this was the reason why he was thrown out of his job. People did not get, people who lived in the house where he worked did not get any peace, get any peace or quiet because of him. People, used to rush to visit this person. Photographers pestered the family. News reporters became a nuisance. A number of things were pilfered from the house. Pilfered means stolen. Even thieves came in between and they stole things from the house. As the dismissed cook sat starving in his lowly hut, he was convinced of one thing: his nose had acquired great publicity. So, this was the conclusion that he had arrived at. Now, even though he lost his job, now his nose had become something which is popular. People from distant lands came to see him. They stood stunned with surprise at his long nose. Some touched it too. So some were curious enough. They were too curious that they want to touch and feel what the nose. But no one asked, "Have you eaten today? Why do you look so weak?" Now, this is indicative of how amusements or unreal elements take us away from reality. Nobody wanted to know the life that he lived. Everyone wanted to see the nose, they wanted to touch it, but nobody wanted to, see beyond the appearances. There was no money in the hut, not even to buy a small packet of snuff. Was he a wild animal to be kept starving? He might be a fool, but he was a human being. One day he called his old mother aside and told her in a whisper, "Get these horrid people out and shut the door." So one day he requests his mother to get these horrid people. Horrid means very bad, who only come to see this man, who are not concerned about this man. The mother promptly sent them all out and closed the door. Promptly means without any delay. She does this immediately. Good fortune came to the mother and son from that day. People began to bribe the mother to see the son's nose. Some upholders of justice protested against this corruption, but the government did not take any action. Many protested against the inaction of the government and joined revolutionary parties to sabotage the government. Sabotage means to destroy or bring an end to. So all these were happening, in the background of the growing popularity of the long-nosed one. So as of now, we have a particular name for this character. He is the long-nosed one. The income of the long-nosed one grew day by day. Need one say more? In 6 years, the poor cook became a millionaire. So in 6 years, he had become a millionaire. Look at the change that has been brought about by his nose. He acted in 3 films. What vast audiences were attracted by the Technicolor feature film, The Human Submarine. 6 poets wrote epic poems about the noble qualities of the long-nosed one. So what you are reading is the changes that came over the life of this long-nosed one. He became a millionaire. He acted in 3 films, and even poets started writing poems, and that too epic poems on him, on his noble qualities. 9 well-known writers wrote biographies of the long-nosed one and won wealth and claim. His princely abode was also a guest house open to all. Anyone at any time could get a meal there and a bit of snuff. So this is what he used to serve, to the hapless, to the homeless, to the despondent and destitute. He used to his house was open to all, and he used to serve a meal there and also a bit of a snuff. And probably this reminded of his earlier life. He used to work, eat, take snuff, and sleep. This is what he used to do before. But as of now, he is a millionaire, and this is what he is offering to his fellow beings. He had two secretaries, two comely, accomplished women. Comely means very pleasing. So these secretaries, they were very pleasing and very much accomplished. Both of them loved the long-nosed one. Both of them worshipped him. When two beautiful women love the same man at the same time, there is bound to be trouble. So look at how the author, hints at the oncoming, the imminent trouble in his life. The very first trouble is that two women were loving him at the same time. Other people also loved the long-nosed one. That long nose reaching down to the navel was considered a sign of greatness. The long-nosed one gave his opinion on important world events. So look at the changes that have come over him. People came to take photographs, people from distant lands came to see him, people began to bribe his mother to see him. He acted in 3 films. 6 poets wrote epic poems about him. Biographies were written, and he had a princely abode. He started offering meals and snuff to the hapless people. So he became an important person in the society. And he started giving opinions on important world events. Newspapers published his comments. An aeroplane with a speed of 10,000 miles an hour has been built. The long-nosed one commented on that event. Dr. Bantros Furasibaros has brought a dead man to life. The long-nosed one made the following speech about it. When the people heard that the highest peak in the world had been scaled, they asked, "What does the long-nosed one say about this?" So everything that was happening out there in the world came to be connected with the long-nosed one. Everyone wanted to hear the comment that was made by long-nosed one on a particular event. Now that is how important he became. If the long-nosed one said nothing about an event, pooh, it was unimportant. The long-nosed one was expected to comment on anything and everything. Art, the trade, the watch trade, mesmerism. Mesmerism means hypnosis, inducing, the act of inducing hypnosis. So he commented on everything: art, watch trade, mesmerism, photography, the soul, publishing houses, the writing of novels, life after death, the conduct of newspapers, hunting. So there wasn't a topic which was, left alone by the long-nosed one. Everyone wanted to hear what the long-nosed one had to speak about a particular topic. It was at this time that conspiracies were hatched to capture the long-nosed one. So, naturally, people would be, jealous, envious towards such a person who had a meager background earlier, and as of now has become, a millionaire, and people are waiting to listen to his comments. So there arose conspiracies, to bring down this popular person, this celebrity. To capture something, taking something by physical conquest was nothing new. The major part of world history consists of conquest and captures. So, as the narrator, as the author describes these particular events to us, he also points out at the events that happened in history, which can be termed as conquest and captures. These two things aren't something which is very new to us. This has happened for a slew of times in history. What does it mean to capture? Suppose you plant coconut seedlings on a piece of barren land. You water the land and manure it. You fence it in. Expectant years slip by and the trees bear fruit. So the author is trying to make us understand what does it mean to be captured or what does it mean to capture. And he gives us this example. Coconuts hang in proud clusters from the palms. Then someone takes that garden away from you. So, in spite of all the effort that you put into that piece of land to bring up the coconut, now someone takes it away from you. That is what is meant by capture. First of all, it was the government that made an attempt to capture the long lost one. They tried a trick. The government awarded him the title Chief of the Long Nosed Ones and gave him a medal. It was the president himself who tied the jeweled gold medal around the neck of the long-nosed one. So we see here that the government is trying to appropriate this figure because he is popular with the public and they want to appropriate this figure into their government, into their party. Then, instead of shaking the long-nosed one by the hand, the president tweaked the tip of the long-nosed one. Tweak means to pinch or to pull. This was filmed by newsreel cameramen and shown in all the theaters. So people started poking at this particular person. Now it is indicative of the envy, the jealousy that they have that are gradually growing in their minds. By that time, the political parties in the country had come forward enthusiastically. Comrade Longnose must give leadership to the people's struggle. So the partymen they wanted long-nosed one to lead the party, to lead the people's struggle, and they called him Comrade Longnose. Comrade Longnose indeed. Whose comrade? Comrade in what? Great God, poor long-nosed one. The long-nosed one must join the party. Which party? There were many parties. How could the long-nosed one join so many different parties at the same time? So we understand that all the parties were behind the long-nosed one. They wanted him to join their party, and he was very much confused. There are so many parties. Which party I would join because there are so many different parties at the same time. So all these parties they say that they are up for the people's struggle. Probably the question that long-nosed one has in his mind is that if they are all working for the people's liberation, for the people's struggle, then why don't they join together? But as of now, the question he confronts is, how can I join all the parties at the same time? The long-nosed one said in his own tongue, why should I join a party or parties? Me, I am too tired. So this is a response that he gives. He is too tired to work with any party. Then one of the secretaries said, if Comrade Longnose likes me, he must join my party. So this becomes very personal, and one of the secretaries of a party says, if Comrade Longnose likes me, he must join my party. The long-nosed one said nothing to that. Need I join any party? The long-nosed one asked the other secretary. She guessed what he was aiming at. She replied, why should you? By that time, one of the political parties had come out with the slogan, our party is the long-nosed one's party. So even without getting the permission from the long-nosed one of the parties acquired this man, appropriated this man into their party. And they even came out with a slogan, our party is the long-nosed one's party. The long-nosed one's party is the people's party. So somehow, they were trying to gain their reputation by bringing in this, celebrity into their midst, into their party. Members of other parties were incensed by this. They got at one. They got at one of the secretaries and made her issue a scathing statement against the long-nosed one. So the opposite party, the opposition, they did not like this. So they went to one of the secretaries. You might remember that we earlier read that he had two secretaries. So one of the parties, the opposition parties, they reached out to one of the secretaries and made her issue a scathing, a wounding statement against the long-nosed one. And this is the statement that she makes. The long-nosed one has deceived the people. He has been cheating them all this while. He has made me a partner in this fraud. Let me declare the truth to the public. The long nose is made of rubber. So this is the controversy that she has started. She declares that the long nose is made of rubber. What a statement! All the newspapers splashed the news on their front pages. The nose of the long-nosed one is made of rubber. Would the people keep quiet at this? Would they not react in rage? Cables, telephone calls, and letters came from all parts of the world. The president was allowed no peace or quiet. Destruction to the rubber nose of the long-nosed one. Down with the long-nosed party. Long live revolution. So what the opposition party wanted was to, take control of the situation. They didn't want people to go ahead in favor of the other party. So they created a scandal, and they created it using one of the secretaries. They made her give out the statement that the long nose is made of rubber, and this created a lot of hullabaloo, created a lot of chaos in the public, amongst the public. The president was given no peace or quiet, and the parties gave out this slogan, destruction to the rubber nose of the long-nosed one. Down with the long-nosed party. Long live revolution. When the anti-long-nosed party put out this statement, the opposing party made the other secretary issue a counter statement. Beloved countrymen, citizens, what she has said is a lie. Comrade Longnose did not love her, and this is her revenge. So when the opposition party took control of one of the secretaries, the ruling party takes control of the second secretary and makes her issue this statement to the public. She says, beloved countrymen, citizens, what she has said is a lie. And why did she say this lie? Comrade Longnose did not love her, and this is her revenge. So it was I who was loved by Long-nosed one. He was not interested in that secretary, and that is why she made this statement, and that statement was her revenge on the long-nosed one. She was trying to keep for herself the wealth and good name of Comrade Longnose. One of her brothers is in the opposite party. Let me reveal the true colors of the members of the other party. I am the faithful secretary of Comrade Longnose. I know for a fact that the nose of the comrade is not made of rubber. It is as real as my own heart beating inside me. Long live the members of the party supporting Comrade Longnose. At this critical time, they have no motives of gain other than the progress of the people. Long live revolution. So with this statement, this particular secretary was, in a way supporting the party that had hired her, that had probably bribed her to give out this statement. What was to be done? There was confusion in the minds of the people. So on one side, you have one of the particular secretary stating that this is a rubber nose, and on the other hand, you have the other secretary giving out her statement that the former statement was actually a revenge done by the other secretary, and that the long-nosed one, the nose which he has, is a real nose. And both these statements were being, or both these secretaries were being, backed up by political parties. So people were in an utter confusion. The leaders of the party against the long-nosed one began finding fault with the president and the government. So what the opposition party wanted was to, affect the administration of the government and the president, and they were in a way utilizing the long-nosed one to do it. Stupid government. They gave the title Chief of the Long-Nosed Ones to a deceiver of the people. They gave him a jeweled gold medal. The president is also involved in this fraud. They have betrayed the national interest. The president must resign. The ministry must resign. The rubber-nosed one must be killed. So look at how things are turning. The opposition party, they want the president to resign, the ministry to resign, and also they want the rubber-nosed one to be killed. The president reacted angrily. One morning, the army and their tanks surrounded the house of the poor long-nosed one. Look at the miserable condition of this person. He used to live an ordinary life earlier. He became popular. He was, surrounded with people, with money, with good fortune. But people did not like this. People started taking advantage of this particular situation. They exploited this man, and finally they want this man to be killed. And one fine morning, army with their tanks surrounded the house of the poor long-nosed one. He was arrested and taken away. There was no news of the long-nosed one for some time. The people forgot about his existence. Then came fresh news with the impact of a nuclear bomb. Do you know what happened? Just when the people had forgotten everything, came a brief announcement from the president. So let's see what that announcement is. The trial of the chief of the long-nosed ones will take place on 9th March. So what kind of a trial is this? Let's try to understand. Expert doctors who come as representatives of 48 countries will examine him. So this is a trial that is going to happen. 48 doctors, expert doctors from 48 countries will examine him. We will try to examine and determine whether his nose is a rubber nose or not. All the newspapers of the world will be represented by their respective correspondents. The proceedings will be filmed for all the world to see. The people must keep calm. So this is the advice, this is the announcement, this is the counsel that the president gives to the public. We will have expert doctors from 48 countries and they will examine him. We will have correspondents from all the newspapers. The proceedings will be filmed for the world to see. So people must keep themselves calm. People are people. They could not keep calm. They came in large numbers into the metropolis. Metropolis, here it means the city. They invaded the hotels. They burned public conveyances. They set fire to police stations. They destroyed government buildings. There were communal riots. Quite a number of men and women died as martyrs. Martyrs are people who die for some principle or for some institution. Women died as martyrs in this fight for the long-nosed one. So look at the happenings, all because of this particular person or appropriation of this particular person by, agencies, parties, institutions, people, all of them together. And finally, we come down to 9th March. 9th March, 11 a.m. The square in front of the presidential palace was a vast sea of humanity. So everybody had gathered to listen to the result of the examination that will be carried out by the doctors from 48 countries. The loudspeakers blared forth. People must be disciplined. The examination has begun. The doctors surrounded the long-nosed one in the presence of the president and cabinet ministers. One doctor blocked the nostrils of the long-nosed one. He immediately opened his mouth wide. Another doctor took a needle and punctured the tip of his nose. To his amazement, a drop of blood appeared at the tip of the nose. So as you have already understood, the examination is to see whether the nose is actually real or made of rubber. So these are the various ways through which they try to determine the reality behind this nose. One of the doctors, they block the nostrils and see if he opens the mouth, which happened. Another doctor took a needle and punctured the tip of his nose. Everyone were amazed to see that blood appeared from the tip of the nose. The doctors gave their unanimous verdict. The nose is not made of rubber. It is genuine. One of the female secretaries kissed the long-nosed one on the tip of the nose. Long live Comrade Long Nose. Long live the chief of the long-nosed ones. Long live the Progressive People's Party of the long-nosed one. As the shouting and revelry ended, revelry means an uncontrolled merrymaking or celebration. As the shouting and revelry ended, the president thought of another gimmick. Gimmick is a trick used to achieve something or some end. So the president thought of another gimmick. He nominated the long-nosed one as a member of parliament, the Honorable Long-Nose MP. Three universities conferred doctorates on him. So again, fortune is upon this man. He was nominated towards the member of towards the parliament. He was, given doctorates. He was honored with delegates. The Honorable Long-Nose Delit. The ignorant populace. Populace means the people in general, the crowd, the public in general. The ignorant populace acclaimed the actions of the equally ignorant government which ruled over them. But the parties of which the long-nosed one was not a member formed a united front and began to proclaim, "The ministry must resign. This is a fraud on the people. It is a rubber nose." So in spite of the medical board giving out their statement that this is an original nose, the parties which stood in the opposite side, they formed a united front and they began to proclaim that the ministry must resign. This is a case of cheating. They are playing fraud on the people. It is a rubber nose. Look at the way falsehood was being perpetuated. So finally, we have a comment being made there by the narrator, the speaker. Look at the way falsehood was being perpetuated. Perpetuated means caused to continue. Would there not be confusion of thought? What could the poor intellectual do? So this is where the story ends. The story, speaks much about how, truth and reality are manipulated for certain ends. We have media, politicians, social media, you know, are all the hands that perhaps control the reality around us. What is to be understood is that this happens at the cost of many things. Now, in this story, it is the life of the long-nosed one which is at stake. So I hope you have understood the story. I would request all my students at St. Michael's to drop in their register numbers and names as comment. Thank you so much for being with me and attending this live session. In the next video lesson, I will discuss T. Padmanabhan's short story, The Girl Who Spreads Light. Thank you.